YouTube can benefit from it. It's about visa interviews after admission, visa process, US visa process, what happens after you've gotten your admission. Okay, that's the basic of the video. What happens after you get your admission? What are the next things, not next steps you have to take? Next step about I20 funding issues, service payment, and all those things. So that's what it will all be about. So I'm going to just play it and then you can listen to it. In a way, I may disappear here, I will leave here, I'll be coming in, checking in, and see if there's any comment, questions I need to answer. But I will just play that now, and then if you are online now, just tell me if you can hear it, if you can listen to it. All right. So this is all right, all right, all right. Wow. I thought you guys were on fire already. Okay. Thing has been see for generation of I20 and the like is for generation and I want to say that all right, being a student in the United States is one of the hear this now things that can happen to you too, because that one decision can change the course of your life forever. I've seen a lot of folks who started out, they came as students, and I they believe just you can hear this now. Up the ladder in the United States, and then they are doing really, really well for themselves now. So I want to say congratulations to you if you're in that position. And I know there are some other people who have gotten admission and then they don't really have funding from the school, and then they don't know exactly what to do because they cannot fund themselves. In the course of this discussion, I should touch on some things, and in fact, let me share to this space one of the videos I made on how to get funding, because I don't want to go into the details of that because I've done that before. So let me share that to the space. Anyone who is interested in that will be able to see that and then go through it. I share the experiences of different people, those who got admission without funding, what they had to do, how some were able to get funding eventually, how some were able to get 50%, 60%. But I shared the example of people till they got to the US, the school did not offer them funding, and after they got to the US, they went to the department, and the department was able to offer them some funding. And then I know someone who was funded at least. She's doing a master's. I think she has been funded like for 3 semesters, and I think she only paid for 1 semester. So such situations exist. So just go through the video. It's the tweets. I just shared it to this Twitter space now, and you will definitely be blessed by it. All right, let's dive in. I will skip the process of application and all this, and I will start from the moment where you've received your letter from the department that you've been admitted. So the next thing that will definitely happen is that you will be contacted by the department, the International Studies Department, or whatever they call their name there, those who are responsible for generation of I20 and the like. Some call it International Office. I think FSU, we call it Center for Global Excellence or something here. So once they contact you, the next thing they want from you is your information. They want to know your, of course, legal name, what's on your passport, the name that you go by on your passport. And it's at that point that they will request for your passport, okay? They will request for your passport. I think some schools now request for passports at the point of application, but majorly the international office will still request for your passport. And that's why I usually advise people, if you are making your applications, try as much as possible to get your passports ready. I know in the situation in many countries, especially in Nigeria, it takes a long time to get your passport now. So try as much as possible to have it ready by the time the admission decision is out. If you don't send them your passport, I don't know if there are exceptions to that, but I don't know if they will prepare your I20 for you. They want to see your passport. They want to see that your real name, so that you are not going by another person's name. You know, there are legal issues to these things, so they want to confirm all these things. So you send them your passport. Another thing they will request for is your proof of fund. Okay, they want to say, okay, now you're coming to our school. How do you intend to fund your studies? Okay, so they want to see proof of fund, and then what they want to see, because the reason for this is in the I-20 there'll be a section for the expenses you're expected to incur. The expenses include tuition, books, they usually include personal expenses and all those things, what they think you will spend. Okay, so they usually include that. And then once they get your proof of fund, there will be another section which will talk about what you have, the money you have on ground. And that is that section where they will put your funding information. Okay. Now, for someone who has gotten assistantship from the department, for example, all you need to do is to send them the letter of assistantship which you have gotten from your department. That's all you need to do. Send them the letter of assistantship which you have gotten from your department. If you didn't get an assistantship and you are funding yourself, all you need to do is to send them the bank statement which shows that you have funding. Send them the bank statement which shows that you have funding. You send it to them and they'll be able to prepare it. Of course, some will say, okay, now what if the bank statement is not in my name? What if it's in my father's name or my mother's name or wife's name? Yes, send it to them. They will process it. Some schools will write it in the I-20 as family funds. Okay. Some schools will write it as they will, if I've seen a school, they wrote the name of the person that has the account. They wrote it in the I-20, like that's where the funding is from. And that's families that are not those that are not really family, those who are too distant. You know, you are saying the uncle of my father's brother. I mean, that's too far. They will just if I saw an I-20 recently. I don't know if I can still find it. Very funny. They wrote the person's name. They wrote friend. I think that's what they wrote. They wrote friend. And you see, those things, the reason why I say people should be careful with this is because when you get to the embassy, there are implications to these things. But when we get there, we'll talk about that too. So you send them your proof of fund, which can be that the funding letter from the department. Of course, when you send it to them, they will verify with the department, or your own proof of fund, which is either your own bank account, statement of account, or the statement of account of your loved one, your family member, your wife, your husband, your whoever is sponsoring you, your sponsor. And different schools, I mentioned it earlier, different schools have the way they write it. Some may write family fund, some may write friend, some may write the exact name of the person, some may write, when the relationship start getting complicated, they just write the name of the person most times. That's what I've seen. Now, once you've done that, they will process your I-20. In the past, before COVID-19 turned everything around, they used to send the physical copy of the I-20. They will ship it to you. Okay, they will ship it to you wherever you are, Nigeria, Korea, wherever. They will ship it to you. You pay for the shipment, okay? And so that means you have to wait for some days before it gets to you. But these days, because of COVID-19, I think most schools now just send it electronically. So the signature, once you print out, the signature will show us. It will just depict that this thing has been is printed. I usually advise if you want to print it in color so that the color of the pen, whatever, will still be maintained. That's what I prefer. Then when they used to send it physically at the embassy, those guys don't take photocopy. They want to see the original. Okay, when they used to send it in person, when they used to send it physically, but now they send it electronically. So I think that should not be a problem. And once you get your I-20, the next thing you want to do is to pay for your service fee. Okay, that's the next thing you want to do. You want to pay for your service fee. Is the student an exchange visitor program, something like that? It's like a compilation to show all the international students in the United States and all those stuff. So you want to pay for your service fee. I think presently the service fee is around $350, if I can remember, around $350. And then it used to be around $200 during my time, but now things increase, many things happen. So it's around $350 now. So once you have gotten your admission, be preparing all these things. These are the stuff you will spend. And do we need those numbers? There will be special numbers in your i20. There will be a service number in your i20. Of course, these are the things you will input while you are paying the service fee. Now, the problem now is this. If someone is trying to pay from Nigeria, for example, it's almost, they say there is the option of Western Union, but it's a problem paying it from Nigeria. I don't know what has happened. I don't no one wants to go. You need to go through someone who is in the US. I think there are some people said there are some apps now that assist people in paying it. You can look for such apps. Those who operate such apps, they can you can pay through them. They can, and or if you have someone in the US, I've got a couple of folks to pay here in the US. When I add funds, when I wanted to change money. So you go through either someone in the US or you look for such apps whereby you can use to pay the service fee. Now, take note, you must pay for the service fee before you present yourself for an interview at the embassy. You must pay for that service fee, $350. You must pay for it. Okay, so once you pay for the service fee and it's confirmed, you can see it online that you've paid for the service fee. The next thing you do is to start filling your DS-160 form. What's the DS-160 form? Is one of the documents you have to fill for you to be able to apply for visa interview, or for you to be able to present yourself for the visa interview. A lot of questions in the DS-160 form, things about your history, things about what you've done, what you've been doing, what you are going to do, your travel plans, all those stuff. Is a lot of stuff. And when I talk to people, try as much as possible to give the accurate information in your DS-160 form to the best of your ability. Try as much as possible. Don't lie, okay, because some of the information, they may find it out, okay. In fact, these days, you have to include your social media address in the DS-160 form. They want to see the social media address so they can even check your page online. I'm not sure how much they check that, but that's one of the things you include. Okay, so you fill your DS-160 form, and then you make payment for interview for your visa fee. I think visa fee currently is $160, if I remember correctly. Visa fee for Nigerians, anyway, is currently $160, if I remember well. So once you make the payment, the next thing you do is to start looking for appointment date, and that's where the problem comes in. It's a lot of problem. I mean, it's a big deal now finding an appointment date, especially for those who are applying for visa interview from Nigeria. Many people now, once they apply, they see 2024 and they are resuming in 2023. So it's a lot of problem. I know for a friend what he had to do. I think he resumed last year. What he had to do, because he saw a date like 2023 and it was meant to resume in fall of 2022. He had to wake up every night to keep on checking the page to see if a new date will appear. It was fortunate. He was lucky enough. He was able to get in a very close date. So what I advise people to do is this. Once you get your admission, once you get your I20, you remember the steps I took you through is through doing I20, pay service fee, then start applying for visa interview. But because of this date issue, I will advise you to reverse the process, because the service fee, you only need to make sure that you have paid it at least 2 days to your interview. So I advise you, since you have your service number from your I20, what I advise people to do now is to start making the payment for the visa. Make the payment for the visa and start trying to get an interview date, and start filling your DS-160 form too. And then, of course, you can do it concurrently, okay? Then you can start looking for how to pay your service fee and the likes, because I've seen a lot of people, even those with funding, who could not get an interview date. Someone got funding, full funding, everything fully funded, could not get an interview date. Of course, some of the things you can also do is to apply for an emergency date. You apply for an emergency date, and then once you apply for emergency date, they will either approve or reject it. And I've seen people, genuine folks, those who have full funding, they had everything. The emergency request was denied. Okay, so as much as possible, try to be fast with it, to be proactive with this. You don't want to fall into the category of those who will have this full funding yet will not be able to find date. Okay, so once you get to I20 from your school, now these days they are sending it electronically, so there won't be the problem of having to wait for courier service and the like. I20. So once you get your I20, start applying for the interview. Start filling your DS160 form, because of course you will have to link that DS160 form to the interview to your visa application. Okay, there are two different sites, and according to what I've heard, they are controlled by same embassy, but they are controlled by two different, let me say, units. Okay, so you don't. It's not the same website where you fill the DS160 form that you apply for the interview. So it's not as if you must finish one before you start doing the other one. So, but of course, you have to link that DS160 form to your visa application, to your visa application. And I'm saying you have to do this, you should do this because it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot to find it. And some eventually are not even able to find dates. Okay. And I don't know, the COVID is over. I hope the US Embassy will release more dates. I think 2021, what they did was to release what they call search dates. Okay. The US Embassy, they released like 3 dates in November and December 2021, if I can remember. And then they allowed students to apply and to interview on that day. And then they all just ask students to send the I20 and prove that they've paid for the service fee. And then they put those slots for students, and students were able to go for the interview. But these days they are not doing the search date. They didn't do anything like that last year. This year, let's hope that dates will open up. But of course, from those who are already trying to check it, dates are not opening up. Most of them are saying 2024 as the dates, and they will be resuming in August. So if you fall into that category, try as much as possible. Try as much as possible to start as early as possible. Now, once you apply for your interview, of course, and you have linked your DS160 form to your visa application, the next thing to do is just to go for your interview on your interview date. And I beg you, please do this yourself. Even if you are not doing it yourself, at least stay with the person or know the content that is being filled. These are some of the things I don't advise you leaving up to agents to do for you. Because once you go for the visa interview, once there is a discrepancy between what is in your DS160 form and what you are saying, it starts appearing as if you are a liar, and the viewer start looking at you with one kind eye, like what's going on. And then before you know it, that's one of the reasons for the denial for many people. That's one of the reasons for the denial. For example, some of the things that we ask you to fill in your DS160 form is, what are you going to do? What do you want to go to the US to do? Where are you going to study? Okay, they will ask you to fill where you are going to study. Some of the things they will ask you in the DS1 form: are you married? Are you not married? So some of your responses, okay. For example, there was a guy who I had then. He went for interview, and then of course he's married, and then they asked him, will your wife be joining you? Because he's trying to do what they call home ties. I'll talk about home ties very soon. And so, because he was trying to prove home ties, he said, well, my wife will not be joining me. And the viewer asked again, like, to be sure, your wife won't be joining you. And they said they are noting it down. And of course, true to their word, I think the wife could not join the guy, even when the wife wanted to go for the interview. In fact, I know another person who messaged me. She said the husband said during the interview that she will not be joining him. So you have to be careful when you are answering those questions. All right, so let's go to the interview part. Now, of course, on the day of the interview, let's assume you are interviewing in Lagos, for example. On the day of the interview, you go there. There are different times: 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m., 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m., and the likes. So once you get there, everybody's will be there. They want to see. There are some things they want to see while you are making that visa application. There is the size of the passport. There are different things that must be in place. So the size must be that exact same size. If you don't have that same size, there are people who are doing the business in that environment. You have to go there, pay them, and they help you to do all those things. Of course, you must go with all your documents. The most important, well, everything is important, but of course, the most important, in a way, in quotes, is your i20. You see, I've been talking about i20, i20, i20. It's very, very, very important. And that's why I always hammer it. When you are collecting your i20, when you're trying to receive your i20 from your school, you want to ensure that they put the correct information. Sometimes the school make mistakes. Okay, I've seen a situation, in fact, when we're doing our own F2 visa, then I think they made a mistake on the sponsor, on where the fund is coming from. We had to send it back because, of course, I was here already. I had to go back to the international office to tell them that there is a mistake here, and then they had to reprint it. So sometimes they make mistake. Check your i20 well to ensure that there is no mistake. Now, those times when they used to send it via courier, where it takes 1 week and all those stuff, people feel reluctant when they want to correct the errors and say, oh, it's going to take another 1 week before it gets to me. And, people want to risk it then. But now they are sending it electronically. I don't know if they will shift back to sending it physically. I'm not sure about that. But at least for now, if you locate any error, please go back to them. Tell them there's an error here. If there's an error in the payment, in the figures, make sure you correct everything, because whoever is interviewing you will go through your i20. We want to look at what you are bringing. Is the funding enough? Who is sponsoring you? In fact, if you even they made a mistake in the name of the sponsor. In my own case, then we make sure that they corrected their name, because we are going to the embassy with an account statement that carries the same name. So if there's a mismatch, it's a red flag to the VO. Okay, so please make sure it is correct. Names, the name of your school. Sometimes they make mistake with the name of schools. The name of your school, the start date and the end date. Very, very important. So on your i20, there will be a start date and there will be an end date. Okay, and some of the questions you'll be asked at the embassy will be about your start date and your end date. When are you starting? When are you ending? Will you leave the United States and all those stuff? So you want to make sure that they have the correct information. Check it well. Very, very, very important. You must have the correct information, their start date, end date, name of school, sponsor, where the money is coming from, the fund, the amount itself that you have said you have. Those things are very, very, very important. And of course, your name there must also be correct. Very, very important. That's why they request for the biodata page of your passport, okay, when you want to receive your I-20. Very, very important. So that document is very important. You are going to the embassy with it. DS-160 form, you don't go to the embassy with it, but I mean, sometimes you don't want to take chances. Many people go with it. There is this there's this page after you fill the DS-160 form. You print that page, you take it along. Once you do your visa interview, once you schedule it, the appointment page, you take it along. That's a proof to them that I have an appointment today. Okay, so you take it along. That serves as proof that you are interviewing on that particular day. So take it along. And of course, the proof that you have paid for the visa fee. Very, very important. Very, very important. You have paid the visa fee. That proof, take it along. Okay, many people, I think in Nigeria, they do it through GT Bank. So you can get that and take it along with you. And also very important is the proof that you have paid the service fee, $350. Make sure you take it along too. That's very, very important. And of course, any other proof thing you need to convince the VO of whatever you want to tell the VO. For example, if you want to say that the school is funding me, I have an assistantship from the school, go along with a proof, a letter, your scholarship letter, your assistantship letter, go along with it. It's very, very, very important. If you want to prove to the VO that, oh, I wrote GRE and I had so score, maybe 309, 320, whatever, print your GRE results and go along with it. I, for one, know someone, he wrote GRE, he had assistantship, he had everything, the interview was going on well, and then the VO, they started talking about exam. Did you write, the VO asked, did you write any proficiency exam? And he said, yes, I wrote GRE, I had this score, blah, blah. And then the VO asked, where is your result? Can I have it? And he said, oh, I didn't bring it. I mean, and of course, he didn't take it along. And the VO denied him on that basis. The VO denied him the visa. If the guy had to apply again, thank God it was not those times when it was difficult to get it. The guy applied again, and then the following week he went with his what do you call it now? With his GRE results. And when he went there, they asked, okay, why were you denied the last time? And I explained, because I didn't bring my GRE result. He met another view anyway. Because I didn't bring my GRE result, blah 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 blah. And then they gave him his visa. Okay, he's a friend here in the United States. So anything you want to tell the VO, go along with the proof. So if you say you have funding from the department, go along with your funding letter. If you say, oh, my dad is sponsoring me, go along with that proof of fund. Now, another question someone might want to ask is this: is it compulsory I go with the same proof of fund? Let's say the same account statement I submitted to the school. Not necessarily, okay, not necessarily. So you may have additional documents to take along just to show, this is just to prove it to the VO that, yes, I have enough money to cater for myself. And of course, they usually request for something around $30,000, depending on the school anyway, $30,000, $40,000, depending on the school. In my own case, my cost, the whole cost for the whole thing for FSU, in my own case was around $50,000. And then, of course, I had an assistantship from the department. So I had a letter that says $50,000 this past semester. So I went with that. Sometimes some people, it may have to be that you have to print the email that was sent to you if you don't have an official letter-headed document and all those stuff. Some people print the email that is sent to them or that was sent to them to notify them of the assistantship and all those stuff. So you can print that too and take it along. It's very, very, very important. Very, very, very important. Now, another document you want to take along, if you are trying to tell the VO, for example, that, oh, maybe someone wants to prove an home tie, for example, and they're saying, I have a business in Nigeria or in Ghana, in Kenya, I run this and that. Take something along that shows that you indeed have it. Maybe the proof that the business is registered, maybe pay slip sometimes. Because some VOs, you can't predict who you are meeting. Some VOs can ask questions to the level of how much do you earn, and then you say, "Oh, I earn 100,000 naira," and then they want to say, "Okay, any proof for that?" So if you fall into that category, you may want to go with your pay slip or letter of appointment when you receive that job and all those stuff, just to prove that yes, you actually earn what you have said you have earned. Now, if you are married too, and then you probably are going with dependents or not necessarily going with dependents at that time, and just to prove that you're married, you want to take something that shows that you're actually married. Maybe some certificates from the court, maybe some pictures, maybe what we call picture album, and all those things. You want to take it along. It's very, very, very important. Now, one question people will want to ask is this: should I go, if I'm married, for example, should I go with my spouse at the point of interview? Should we go together or not? Now, there is no yes or no answer to that. Usually in the past, I used to say it's advisable to just go alone and let your partner join you later. But from the experiences, I've seen different people's experiences. I've been involved with so many people, and I'll say there is no yes or no answer. It depends on the situation at hand. For example, what the VO wants to know is that you have funding enough to cover yourself, your stay in the United States. They want to say that, oh, you have enough funding to cover yourself. So in a situation where you have enough funding to cover for yourself and your family, your dependent, you can go. And when I say enough funding, I mean that you have. Many times when the statement of account is coming from uncle or brother or cousin of something, it becomes difficult for the VO to even believe you. Okay, it becomes difficult. For example, I know for himself and his family. In that situation, the person asked me, should we go together? I said, why not? You have the funding, go. And of course, he got the visa, the family, they got the visa, everyone got the visa. I know someone who had funding for herself from the school, but not for the family. And it got someone somewhere to maybe a family member, I can't remember, or an organization to give a statement of account for them and the likes. And when they went for the interview, the lady was granted the interview. The person was granted the interview, but the other person, the family members, were not granted. I mean, it was a bittersweet or sweet bitter situation. Like you were granted and your family members are not granted, and you don't know each other. Of course, it was not a good atmosphere then. If I know someone recently, she went with a baby, 6-month-old baby, and the husband. The funny thing is, the VO granted her the visa. The VO did not grant the baby. The VO did not grant the husband. Interestingly, and for me, I was even angry. Like, this is a 6-month-old baby, for goodness sake. And then what the husband and the baby had to apply later on, had to go through the problem of dates, go through all this stress again, and then eventually they were able to get it. Okay. And of course, I know someone who he's been working in Nigeria, he has his own money, he has everything. He got funded from the school. He just packed all the money he has in his own account too, and then he went and he got it himself with the family. He got it because he had the money. The money is in his name. He's been working. There is evidence he was working in a good company in Nigeria. So there is evidence to say that, oh, this guy really has the money. Okay. And then he got it. He got it straight away. So should you go with your family or not? I think that the decision will be based on the situation available. I mean, the situation at that point in time. It will be based on your financial situation at that point in time. Is this money, for example, do you have funding from the school for everyone? Okay, do you even have funding for yourself to start with? Okay, because the viewer even want to be sure that you are able to pay for this school, that you are able to pay the tuition fee and all those stuff. So do you have the funding? Do you have all those stuff settled? Do you have it set out? That's what the view is interested in, I believe. Of course, many other things are subjective to the things the VO is experiencing at that time. So maybe the VO didn't really have a good morning or some stuff, and the VO is just not seeing anything good in you. It's possible such situations happen, or the VO is just not happy at that time, or you just meet a VO that is just happy, like the VO is just looking at you and your family and say, oh, this baby is just so cute, oh, blah blah blah, and then you just say, oh, approved, approved, approved. So those situations happen too. So there are this subjective aspect of it that is the surrounding the VO too. So you will have to decide yourself if to go first or not to go first. But of course, I know many people. The question many people ask is this: if I go first, will my wife, will my husband, will my children be able to join me? Yes, they will be able to join you. Of course, I've seen many people who also went first and then the family joined later. For example, I went first, and then when they asked me, okay, the viewer asked me, are you married yet? I said, I'm married with a kid. We just had a baby at that time, and it was around how many months old? I think it was around 6 months old at that time. And I said, yes, with a baby. But it's okay, will your family be joining you? Why is your family not joining you? I said, yes, my baby is still small. My wife just gave birth. I mean, the stress of relocation and the likes, I desire to go first and then they'll join me later. Don't be afraid of saying that if you have to say it. Some people are afraid that when you say your family will be joining you later, the VO will deny you. I don't think so. Of course, because there's an F2 visa, a dependent visa, which is basically for them. Okay, the VO just want to see that this person has money, enough money to take care of himself and the family. And of course, that's my situation at that time. I wanted to go first, settle down, and then let my wife join later. And of course, at the right time, they joined too. They went for the interview, and it was smooth for them too. Okay, so don't be afraid to say that if you have to say that. Now, one of the questions you might face during the interview will be about your uh, what you are planning to do when you finish your studies. Now, I want you to remember the F1 visa interview is a non-immigrant visa. And what that means is that you are not migrating, you are going to study. Okay, so all your questions, if you expect that all your questions should be in that line. For example, you want to tell the VO that after your study, whatever you are studying, you are coming back to Nigeria, to Ghana, to Kenya, to whatever, to implement what you have studied, to do this and that. That's what you want to say. That's the explanation the viewer is expecting from you, because the category of the visa you are standing in for is a non-immigrant visa. Is a non-immigrant visa. So you explain. Now people ask, what about home ties? How do I do home ties? And that's why, for example, the person I mentioned earlier who said the wife will not be joining. That's why some people say such things. They want to use their family members as home ties. Of course, even from the US embassy website, it's stated there that family members can be home ties. But if you want your wife to join you during your study, she's not the person you will use and say, "Oh, my wife is in Nigeria and I must come back to." You don't want to put your wife or your husband in that tight situation. There are other things that can serve as home ties. For example, if you have a business running in Nigeria, those business can serve as home ties. If you have a job, a stable job, a good job in Nigeria, I've had some people have federal government jobs, some people are lecturers already who are teaching in the university in Nigeria. Of course, they go and then they explain to the viewer that this PhD is for the job. I mean, in Nigeria, I think the best you can get with a master. There are not many schools are not even employing people with masters again. So that's a good explanation, reasonable logic. You explain that this PhD once you finish, you are coming back to where you are lecturing, where you are teaching and continue lecturing. It's a way for you to advance and grow. Okay, so you want to explain your job can serve as that. So people have high-paying jobs that they can't just leave. They can't just leave that job. And in fact, some people who are working with the federal government, one thing they enjoy is that the federal government continues to pay them while on study leave. So the VO sometimes want to ask, okay, are you on study leave? Are you on a study leave? If you're on a study leave, that's a good thing. If you have a letter to prove that, you can show it to the VO. But if you don't have a letter to prove that you are on study leave, I don't think it's a good thing to say you are on study leave, because anything you tell the VO, you must be able to back it up. You must be able to prove that this thing is true, this thing is genuine. Okay, I'm on a study leave, you show it to the VO. If I'm on a paid leave, which I love. I know someone who is on a paid leave and she's doing a PhD in the US, and then she's on a paid leave in Nigeria. She's receiving a salary in Nigeria. She's receiving assistantship money here too. So that's even a good thing, a good sign for the viewer to say, oh, this person can take care of himself. This person can take care of the family. The person has a family. This person can do this. This person can do that. Okay, so those jobs, those very good jobs, can serve as home tie for you. They can serve as home tie for you. Now, someone is thinking, what if, for example, in my situation, I don't have a good job, and then I don't really have uh, family members who would be in Nigeria and all those stuff. How do I prove home ties? So I don't have properties. Okay, number one, of course, let me say it here. You can use your properties. Your properties can serve as home ties too. You have properties, you have business in Nigeria that you are running, you have all these things that can serve as home ties. But someone who does not have all these things, what will you use as your home tie? For example, what you can use again is your long-term goals. Okay, and your long-term goals will, of course, definitely be related, will be attached to what you've been doing before and what you're currently doing. There must be a correlation, or there should be a correlation. Let me not use the word must. There should be a correlation between what you are planning to do after studies and what you are currently doing or what you've done in the past. Let me use myself as an example. When I was in Nigeria, I was teaching in an advanced level college. I was teaching physics, and I was receiving a salary of 80,000 naira. And 80,000 naira is not a lot of money. So we can't say I was doing a high paying job. I had my family, of course, all my family members are in Nigeria, but my wife and son, I want them to join me during my PhD program. You don't want to be separated from your family for 5 years. Okay, so I knew in my heart that I was going to tell the VO, I want my family to join me. They'll be joining me. So I can't say, oh, my wife will be in Nigeria, then so I will now come back to meet my wife. I don't want, if that's the situation, I won't even travel out of Nigeria because I want my family to be together. So, but I have to tell this VO something about my passion about Nigeria, about teaching. Because of course, when I was doing my masters at the University of Ibadan, I was teaching some undergraduates. I was teaching them. I was a tutorial assistant. I was getting paid. I was being paid by the University of Ibadan, so I was teaching them. I think 200 levels, second year student, first year student. I was teaching them some of those courses then. And then I've been teaching all my life. My CV, everything you find in my CV is teaching, 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 teaching. And I taught at the University of Ibadan. I was currently at that time teaching advanced level students who are preparing for Cambridge exams. So I told the VO, I said, see, this is my plan. Once I finish my PhD physics, I'm coming back to my alma mater, University of Ibadan. Of course, my professor was telling me about having a position there and all those things at that time. So I kept on talking about those things, those future plans. Okay, those things I intend to do when I graduate I have my PhD in physics. Those things, those beautiful things I want to do with students and all those stuff in Nigeria. Sold that vision to the VO, and the VO was impressed. And this was in line with what I'm doing. But I was currently teaching students preparing for Cambridge exam. I've taught students preparing for UTME who are preparing to gain entrance into the university. So that was very easy. Okay, but this would be very hard. This would be very hard for someone who has not been in the line of whatever he or she says it's going to do. For example, let's say I've been doing a bank job. Let's say I was working in the bank, and then I started telling the VO, yeah, I want to be a lecturer at the University of Ibadan. When I finish my PhD, I want to do that, this and that. It's difficult for the VO to believe because the VO is looking at my DS160. And let me sound this. Once you submit your DS160, the VO sees everything. So some of the questions the VO is asking you is even from your DS160. So the VO is looking at your DS160, is looking at your responses, and is trying to correlate it with what you are saying. So that's why you must know what is in your DS160 form. Okay, you must be able to correlate it to say the truth or as much as possible at all times. Okay, so if I was working in the bank, and then the VO is asking the question, and I'm saying, yeah, I want to be a professor, I want to be that, the VO is trying to correlate it, and it's not correlating. You see, that's hard to believe. So if you want to do something like that, of course you even will have to say that, because you are expected to say that you are coming back to Nigeria to do this, that, because you are standing in for a non-immigrant visa. You are standing in for a non-immigrant visa. So you want to be able to correlate your vision and attach it, tie it as home tie. You can use that too. If you don't have those documents, you don't have those land, you don't have those properties, you don't have those businesses, you don't have those, all those things that people use as home tie. Of course, for those of us who have our parents in Nigeria, that is an home tie too. We can have that as home tie. Okay, that's a home type, so we can definitely use that. My family is in Nigeria, but I don't think my daddy will even want to leave Nigeria and stay in another place and call another place home. Okay, so we always have something with Nigeria. Always go back home and do all those stuff. So you can also have that. Of course, once the video sees that in your DS1 form, because some of the things you feel will be where your parents live, where your blah 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 live, where do they live. So those can serve. So don't be afraid. Wife or another family member, your child or whatever, and then use them as home and say, "Oh, my wife will not join me." No, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Now, first common question that VO students or applicants is this: what are you going to do in the United States? They ask that question a lot. And you may want to make sure that you prepare for this interview ahead of time, like every other interview. You want to prepare ahead of time. It's not something you just rush into and say, oh, let me just go up. Okay, sorry guys, then there's something happening here. Uh, so this is around 48 minutes. Okay, let me get back to it. 1 minute. We'll get back to it. I believe you've been getting a lot of stuff here. It's a very, very wonderful session. It was a very wonderful session. 1 minute, I'm getting back to it. Mm, okay. I have to say that because you are expected to say that we are coming back to Nigeria to do this, that, because you are standing in for a non-immigrant. If you are married, say if you are not married, just chip it in. What do you currently do? You want to make sense, okay? You don't want to say you are idle, not doing nothing, okay? Except, of course, some people are married and they just get back to a baby or to a child. For example, when my wife went for an interview, she was not working at that time. She was not working at that time because we just had the baby. The baby was still breastfeeding and all those stuff. And then she wrote it. We already wrote it in the DS-160 form. That did we write? I think we either wrote unemployed or stay-at-home mom. I think we probably wrote stay-at-home mom then. I know some people are usually afraid of stating stay-at-home mom or unemployed so that they don't look at them as what. And then they wrote was the reason. I think I think I remember the DS-160 form we filled. They asked what's the reason, and then we wrote there recently gave birth, baby still breastfeeding, blah blah blah, and of course, and we decided I want to breastfeed our baby. So we wrote some of these things there, and then the viewer asked the question. In fact, the viewer didn't even ask too many questions because the viewer could say everything. So make sure that you prepare your answer as accurate as possible and then talk about the most important point first. In case the video cuts you short and then you are not able to get to your answer, to the main answer. So I usually advise people to do what we call transcript. Transcript just means you write the questions you anticipate of the video ahead of time and you write the answers you are most likely to give. Now, it's not as if you now go and cram it and then once you get to the presence of the viewer, you start regurgitating like a robot and all those stuff. No, it's just for you to guide. It's just to guide your talking points. You know exactly what you want to talk about. Okay. And I usually recommend people to get people or get someone to do a mock interview for them. Okay, of course, a couple of folks have been part of their journey in the past. I conduct a mock interview, we do Zoom call and all those things. I conduct mock interview, ask them questions many times. And funny thing is, if I remember, I was conducting an interview with someone recently. The person is in the US now. I was conducting an interview with him. And I discovered that he does not even really know why he wants to go to the school he's going to. His answers to me were not okay. And as we were doing that mock interview, I went to his school's website, I went to his department's website, and I saw facilities that his school has, that the department has. Okay, and I mentioned to him, I said, "See, go to this website." I sent the link to him. See the facilities your school has. I think he was doing something that's to do with Greek or something. But see the facilities, see the collaborations they have with other schools, see the collaboration they have with other professors. These are talking points. These are beautiful reasons one will choose or one will want to choose such a school. And when he came back from the interview, he told me those questions we asked, those things we prepared for were those questions that were asked. So see, the view is a person, is a human being like you. The view just want to be convinced that you are the right student, you are the right candidate, that you are who you say you are. That's what the view want to confirm. The view want to be sure that you are a genuine student and you are going to school to study, not just study that you will not. Graduate school is hard. I'm telling you, a lot of people drop out. In fact, it's easier for domestic students in the US to drop out first year. Almost in my department, almost every time you see one or two people drop out, they can't continue again. And I tell you, every single time, everyone that has dropped out, they are domestic students. I've not seen an international student drop out. Okay, so the viewer want to be sure that you want to face the rigor, because when an international student drops out, it's a problem. It's tough because your visa status will be affected and all those things. You have to deal with immigration, a lot of things. So the viewer want to be sure that you are a genuine student who is passionate about what he or she wants to go to study. So you want to prove that, see, I have this passion. I want to do this thing. You want to be, of course, you don't want to appear desperate, but you want to show passion for your work, for your field, for what you do. Okay, that's what you want to do. Of course, domestic students dropping out, I mean, it affects nothing. They just travel back to their own state. But if you, as an international student, drop out, you have to travel back to your country. That's just the thing. That's the main thing. You once you drop, you are back to your home country, and it's a lot of stress. Maybe someone else could have taken your position who will not drop out, or will not drop out. Okay, so that's just what the viewer want to confirm. So think about the questions ahead of time. Questions they can ask you, things you want to do, things you want to say. Prepare that transcript and have an interview, have a mock interview, have someone conduct mock interview for you. And the mock interview does not have to be a particular person. I know some people are in my DM, for example, saying, please check this SOP for me. It doesn't have to be me. It can be someone else. Okay, nothing special about me. It can even be your friend. You can prepare the questions and your friend will administer the question to you. And then you guys will reason through together. Okay, this answer I've given doesn't make sense. What do you think about this answer? What will a right thinking VO think about my answer and the likes? Just prepare it ahead of time. Remember, I've mentioned that your I20 is very, very important. Very important. What is written there is very important. Check for mistakes. Sometimes there are mistakes in the I20. There are errors there. Check for it. Make sure there is no error there. Make sure you pay your service fee. Make sure you pay your visa fee. Go along with all those proofs that you have paid for your service fee, you have paid for your visa fee. Go along with your I20, which shows that you have money, you have the resources to cover your studies. The resources can come through assistantship from your school. It can come from your pocket and other family members. So you want to make sure that that is accurate. And in your I20, there'll be your start date, there'll be your end date. Make sure when you are responding to questions, you are talking in line with what's in your I20. For example, you are doing a 5-year PhD program and your I20 says you will finish in 2020, so 2026, for example, or 2028. Talk about what's in your I20 that, yes, I'll be in the United States till blah, 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 2028. And then before coming back to Nigeria to do this, to do that, and all those stuff. Talk about all those things. That is very, very important. Very, very, very important. So you want to make sure everything is in place. And remember, I mentioned before that it's still difficult to get interview dates in Nigeria, for example, now, and I think Ghana. You want to try and apply ahead of time. You want to apply ahead of time. Some people are trying to, I think it's possible to go to a neighboring country and apply. That's something that is very, very possible. Some people are doing it. I know some folks who went execute. Some of those folks are already in US before. They were just trying to change from F2 to F1 and they went to Mexico. They got it in Mexico. Some went to Canada, did it in Canada, came back to the United States. And I think I've heard of someone from Ghana went to Ivory Coast because they had interview dates in Ivory Coast. And then the person went to do the interview in Ivory Coast and then got it and traveled to the United States. So that's very, very possible. That's very, very possible. All right. I know there are a lot of questions. I've been talking for close to an hour. So let me open the floor for questions now. And then maybe we take the questions for like 30 minutes and then we'll probably end maybe in 30 minutes time. Yeah. So let me open the floor. You can, if you have a question, you can request for the mic and I will give you the floor to quickly ask your question. And then boom, we will end this space session as soon as possible. All right. I have Buluwatife here. Buluwatife, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Good to know from Tallahassee, Florida, Buluwatife.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you very much for the section. I'll be very quick. So regarding the payment of the service fee, I understand that you said that if you're in Nigeria, you cannot pay directly from Nigeria. So for me, for example, I am in Europe, and then I have a debit card with a Euro account. Can I pay directly with my debit card, Because I actually saw on the Sevis website that citizens from Nigeria and some other African countries, they have to pay through Western Union money transfer or something. It's a bit unclear. Like, can I pay on my own with my Euro card, for example, that has a debit card for the service fee? I mean,
okay, so I think what they are doing. Okay, now when I said you can't pay from Nigeria, I also added this clause that there are some apps I've not used it before that helps people to pay. But if you're in Europe, I think the service fee, what they just do is either you do a wire transfer or you use Western Union, because even here in the US, you can't pay using a card from the US. You have to go to a place where they do Western Union transfer, Western Union, blah, blah, blah. Even when my wife was paying for her service fee, she had to go somewhere where they do Western Union transfer and the likes, and that was how we paid. So I think you probably will still have to use Western Union, even though you are in Europe. You cannot pay with card, because even from US you can't pay with card. The best you can do is to do a wire transfer, which there are two methods there, but card is not included. So most likely you still have to go through Western Union. Okay. I hope that answers your question. You're very much welcome. All right, if you have questions, you can request for the mic and ask your question. Ima, I have you. You are very much welcome. Good afternoon from Tallahassee, Florida, Ima. You can unmute yourself and ask your question. Ima, okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. So you can ask a question.
Good afternoon or good evening. Please, I also want to find out. I have already applied to a US school. I also applied for their funding, but the time or the time of communication, their website or the school, the department stipulated has already passed. It's supposed to be January 31st, but I haven't gotten any communication from them. I don't know. I was also thinking, should I reach out to them or should I just hold on?
Okay, yeah. So did they say they will communicate after January 31st? Is that what they said? Or the deadline for submission was January 31st?
No, the deadline is not January 31st. They have priority 1, priority 2, and 3. So I applied during priority 1, that is which ended last year November. So that's priority 1. On their website, it is indicated that those persons will get a reply by January 31st.
Oh, I see. Okay. So in that case, I think you can contact them. I had the same issue when the first time I applied to FSU. Because I applied to FSU twice actually. They denied me the first time. The first time I applied and I wasn't getting anything from them. I was getting responses from other schools. I had to write them a message that, oh, you guys have not sent me a message. You guys have not responded to me. What's going on? I want to know what's up with my application. Even if it's a denial, I paid $30. I deserve to receive a response from you guys. And the second day, they just wrote me an email that we are sorry you were rejected, blah, 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 blah. And that was fine for me. I mean, at least let me know if I'm accepted or rejected. I paid money for this application, and you owe me the courtesy of at least letting me know what has happened with my application. So you paid to them, you paid your application fee, write to them, let them to ask what's going on. Okay, if the best or the worst that will happen is they will say, oh, you were not selected, blah blah blah. That's the worst that would happen. So yes, I think you can write to them if January 31st has passed and you have not received a response from them. Write to them that, oh, of course you have to be respectful in your message too. Like, oh yeah, you are one of the applicants for this with application number XYZ, and you are expecting and according to the website, January 31st is the date to become for the communication of the decision, blah blah blah. You just want to know what the decision is about the application. Thank you, blah blah blah. So I think that should do.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very much welcome. Daniel, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Samuel Ajayi. Thank you for putting this together. This has been really, really helpful, although I came in late. And I just kind of want you to maybe put a little clarity on the service fee. Is it the same thing as the application fee? Like I said, I came in late, so pardon me, please.
Okay. Though you still have to go through this is being recorded, so you just go through it when everything is done. But let me just quickly make a brief statement about it again. So once you get your i20, there is this service which is like student and exchange visitor program, blah blah blah. It's more like record up a list of all those who are coming to the US as students, just to have that database. That's what I think it is, and you have to pay for that before you go for your interview. Okay, so that's what imputes your name, link your name with the school you are applying to or the school you are going to, so they know that this student is in US and is attending so school. That's so when you see the data, when they share data about Nigerian students in US are maybe 10,000 or something. That is the way they know, because the student has paid for service fee. Okay, sometimes so that service fee you must pay for that. $350 is what you pay before you appear for interview. So it's totally different for your visa interview. Visa fee. Visa fee for Nigeria, for example, is in $160. It's $160. I'm not sure where you're from. I don't know, but I think for many places it's $160. For many places, I think it's $160. So that fee is different from service fee. Service fee you have to pay it. Visa fee you have to pay it also. Okay, that's 160 plus 350. That's like 500 and something dollars all together that you have to spend money on. So that's service fee basically. And I was saying that you can't really pay from Nigeria. I mean, when it's mentioned during my time, when they mentioned what do you call this, Western Union, I went to Western Union in Nigeria. I tried to pay it. They said I couldn't pay it, and then I had to send it to someone in the US who helped me to pay it. That's what many people do. There's an app which helps people in paying it too. So some people use that app to. But if you're in a country where you can pay it from using Western Union, I think you can pay the fee from your country. But the visa fee, you are paying it locally. Okay, you are paying it locally. Those in Nigeria, for example, we pay through GT Bank. They pay through GT Bank, and then I believe there'll be a special arrangement like that for those in other countries. I believe that answered your question, Daniel.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so of course you can still go and listen to this from beginning. I went into details when we started, details about i20 and the likes. All right, if you still have a question, you can request for the mic and ask your question. You can request for the mic.
Excuse me, please, can I have one more question?
Yes, quickly. Yes, sir.
I have a situation and I need your advice. So my Nigerian passport is due to expire June 2025, and I want to apply for F1 visa before August. So I want to apply for the F1 visa. So do you advise that do I need to actually renew the Nigerian passport before going for the visa application for the interview? I mean, or is it safe to just go like that with the 2 years grace that I have on my passport?
Oh, it won't be a problem actually. It won't be a problem. You can go with the 2-year grace because when you're in the US, you can renew your passport too. So it's not a problem. It's not a problem at all. Some people even have around 6 months, just 1 year. When I left Nigeria, I had 1 year on my passport. So, and then I've been able to renew it here in the US. So I have 2 passports now. So it's not a problem at all. So you can always renew it when you. Okay, sorry guys for that glitch again. I don't know what happened. You can still go and listen to this from beginning. The fact that
the Nigerian passport, since you talked about
all right,
home ties, I'm still not very, very clear in terms of the home ties. And my question is, if one is unable to convince the interviewer about home ties, is that something that's going to cost someone a denial or an approval?
Yeah, of course. So this stems from the fact that you are applying for a non-immigrant visa, right? Yeah. And then a non-immigrant visa means, oh, I'm going to study and I'm coming back, or I'm going to do business, I'm coming back. Okay. So home tie simply means the visa interview official wants to know that you have a reason to come back home to your home country. So it's your own duty to convince the VO that you have home ties, you have enough reasons to come back to the country. Okay, that's your duty. And of course, when the VO is not convinced, it results in a denial automatically. Many people have been denied because they could not prove home ties, and that's normal. They even write it in the paper they give them that they could not prove home ties and the like. So that's very, very, very possible. That's very, very possible. So people get denied because they can't prove home ties. People get denied, really.
Because most of the response or the examples you gave when you were explaining that point, you talked about family and everything. How about someone that has a family or a spouse, or the spouse is already over there in the US? How do you convince such an interviewer that you know what, I'm still coming back even after my studies, despite that my spouse is over there?
Yeah, that's not a problem too. There are a lot of people who have spouse or family members doing one studying, for example. The thing is, your family member, let's say your spouse is studying too. Your spouse definitely is coming back too because the spouse is on a non-immigrant visa, right?
How about if the spouse is living there?
If the spouse is living there, so that's a bit tricky too. Okay, that's a bit tricky. I don't know how that will, but that's a bit tricky. But once you are applying as a non-immigrant, you respond accordingly. Okay, if your spouse is there and you don't have a permanent residence, once you finish, you are coming back. You still go back to, because you are already in Nigeria. You are in Nigeria, right? And your spouse is there, so you have a reason to be in Nigeria, and your spouse is out there. So the same reason you have for being in Nigeria is the same reason you still grant to them. You still tell them your business, your whatever. Those are the same reasons you still give them. You are coming back to take up an appointment, or you are coming back to do whatever. Those are still the reasons you give the visa official. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's
very. And I've seen, for example, I've seen spouses where the spouse is studying there, is already studying in the US, and then the husband is going there to study. I know someone, a friend of mine, she was already in the US studying. Yeah, the husband was in Nigeria, denied a couple of times. Okay, of course, he also got admission and he went again and again, and finally was able to get it. Just say, well, I'm coming back. I have my business. He has a good business. He has traveled to the UK, traveled to different places, came back to Nigeria, spending his time in Nigeria with his country. His company has sponsored him outside of the country many times. And he was telling them, see, I'm coming back to do my big thing. I have my business, which I can't leave, okay? So, and the wife was already in the US studying too. So this will also take the view probably to the wife's responses when they were interviewing the wife. Okay, so let me have, who's the next person here? Environment tech girl. Your EMVT is environment, right?
Yeah, it is. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you. How about you?
Yeah, we are doing good there.
Yeah, okay. First, thank you for this session. I really learned a lot. But I think I have a problem. I didn't get what you said at some point. So when you were talking about the i20, you said you had an issue with the name of the sponsor where you had to send it back for correction.
Yeah. So what I was saying then was to basically explain that sometimes they make mistakes. okay, while typing either names or where fund is coming from and all those things. So if you look at it and you are not satisfied with it, or you think there is a mistake, go back to them, okay, let them know that there is a mistake and they will correct it. So that's basically the point I was trying to drive. And in my case, then I was saying that they made a mistake about a name, because I mentioned sometimes for sponsors they want to mention names, especially when the relationship is growing out of family, maybe father, mother. Sometimes they just write family funds. Sometimes they write name specifically. Okay, so in those situations, whenever there is a mistake and error, just go back to them and they will correct it. So that was the point I was driving at.
Actually, my question is, okay, for someone like you, I think you're on assistantship. Why do you fill in a form for a sponsor?
Okay, so at that time, I was adding money to it, okay, because they didn't give funding for my wife, and we had to source for money to do that. Okay, so that's the situation. So many people, if you have assistantship, you will still need family funds or your own personal fund or whatever to source for your dependent if you want your dependent to be with you.
Oh, all right. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, you're very much welcome. You're very much welcome. All right. Assis, I'm trying to see your question. Okay, I can see it now. So you were asking, you received an admission last week from NMSU, and they are requesting to pay $50 application fee. Okay, so let me ask, did you pay application fee initially? Number two question, have they given you an admission? Okay, those are the two questions I will ask you. Did you pay application fee initially? Were you given an admission, or do you have an admission currently with them with funding? That's what I meant with funding. Okay, because you want to be sure about that. If they're not giving you for admission with funding, and it's just admission, and you can't fund yourself, there's no point paying the $50 application fee. Especially, it's possible that some school did a waiver initially and they said, oh, the students were admitting, let's just collect the application fee now. If that is the situation, and they are giving you admission without funding and you can't fund yourself, then for me, it's not what I would accept. Okay, I mean, I had a school give funding. I didn't receive it, okay, because I can't fund myself. I had to wait for funding to come. I had to wait for the school that will fund me. So that's the situation, and that's what I'll advise. If the school is not funding you and you can't fund yourself, don't receive it. That's my advice. Okay. So ask first about this from the school. Do you have funding? Okay. Do you have funding? Are they giving you funding? Because that's very important. PhD, let me see, is it a PhD admission or MSc admission? PhD admission, even MSc, it's not easy without funding. Okay. It's not easy. All right. Let me allow Anne. You can unmute yourself. You can ask your question.
Thank you very much, sir. Good evening from Nigeria. Thank you for the session. I joined quite late, so I would have to go back to listen. But my question will be concerning the home ties. So I would want to ask, what if you put in a parent as a home tie or family, let me just say family basically, and later on they decide to apply for visas to the US. So my question will be, would it affect them when they are applying?
Oh, again. Okay. Why is it stopping? For goodness sake. Depends on you. It depends. They will correct it. Not. Okay. So there is no question like.
What can we look out for two visa, or a PhD or
family? Let me just say family basically, and later on they decide to apply for visas to the US. So my question will be, would it affect them when they are applying?
Okay, so talking about home ties, it's not like specifically they are asking you to write what are your home ties and you start listing it out. No, there's no question as that. Okay, home ties can be deduced from your general application. Okay, for example, they ask about family, your parent, where the parent live. They are not saying is this person home tie or not. Okay, so there is no question like that. It's just what can be deduced from your responses, it's what can be deduced from your general application. I've not seen any question like, oh, Lee, can you list your home ties? Can you list the job you do, the business you do? They can deduce from your responses like, oh, this person has this business in Nigeria that you want to come back to it. So this person has this passion. This person has been doing this. Oh, this person has been lecturing his whole life. You will most likely want to come back to do the research in his department and all those stuff. So it's what they deduce. So even if it deduce from your application that this person can be an home tie or that this person is coming back to Nigeria because of this person, it doesn't mean that it will affect the visa of the person and they will now say, oh, they will deny the person visa. Of course, people, for example, people who graduate, they invite their parents to come to their graduation and the parents come in for a few weeks, maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and then they go back to Nigeria. Okay, for graduate, people are allowed to invite people for graduation actually. So it's very, very possible. For example, so if they are deduced that this parent lives in Nigeria, of course, we talk about parents who already have visas. Would that mean they can't travel? No. Okay, some parents are even living in another country. Some are living in different places. Some are permanent residents of different places. So it doesn't mean that they will now tie them down and say no. So there's no question such as list your home ties. No, there's nothing like that. But it's what can be deduced from your general application, general responses. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you very much.
You're very much welcome. You're very much welcome. All right. Crypto Cool Guy, my brother. How are you doing today, sir? Crypto Cool Guy, my brother, sir. My crypto brother.
Chairman, how you doing, boss?
I do.
Good.
You have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much. My question is a little bit different. I just felt I wanted to send you a message, but being the busy person you are, still very much I could look out for 2 visa, either a PhD or a working visa. Obviously, I can come to the States anytime I want to. But the thing is, I'm looking at the PhD now. My calculation is this, which is going to be a little bit personal. If I have a visa, I mean, a PhD funded one, if I'm lucky to get one or not. Now, is there a designated hours that I'm allowed to work as a student? Obviously PhD, or I can just work like as many hours as I can. I'm a bit ignorant. I'm just calculating because obviously I'm still going to be sending money back to the UK. I'm into big data analytics and business intelligence. Just in case, I will channel my search towards that anyway.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Have a nice time.
Okay, man. Thank you so much for a good job, man. Thanks for your job.
You're very much welcome. All right, Mr. Toyosi, the educator, let's have you what you have to say. Mr. Toyosi, Olatumosi, you're asking your question, can you request I20 from each of the universities you are admitted to? Yes, you can receive I20, but you can only use one I20 for service payment. You can only use one I20. In a situation where you've used one I20 before, and then you want to change the school, you have to apply for I20, and then you have to change that I20 which you have sent to them. You have to change it again to the new one you want it to be. So there's an there's a provision for that where you can change the I-20 you submitted for Sevis application. That's very, very possible. Kwame, you're asking these questions. Yes, Sir Samuel, please, I would like to know, after getting admission to a school in the US, can I apply for visa with my spouse? Yes, you can. There's such a thing called F2 visa, and it is for dependent like spouse and children. And I've explained the process in why I'm talking about this, so you will do yourself some real good by going through it again, just listening to it, the process, what it should go. And I mentioned when I was explaining that the main thing that is very important is the funding, the money that should that will help both you and your wife or your family, your children. Where would the money come from and all those things? Just listen to it again. Follow the link I shared to this tweet. It's a YouTube video. Check some other videos there in the process and all those things before. All right. Only Bennett, it's a nice work you're doing, Mr. Sam. Thank you so much. Uncle Tom, you're asking, you received 31K funding from school for summer intake, but the fee is 50K. So what are your chances of receiving a visa? Yeah, I think what you just need to do is if you can cover up for what is left. I think what is left is around 19,000. So if you can cover for what is left, I believe you should be able to get your visa. If you can cover up for 19K, that's very, very popular. I've seen people with 50% scholarship get visa, people with 60% and the likes. And I think this your own should be up to, let me see, how many percent now? This one should be up to maybe around 60 something percent. Okay, so that's really, really, really possible. That's really, really possible. Who else is asking a question here? Okay, Sake, you're asking, some people are advising not to accept admission without funding. How much in Naira is good enough on average for self-funding students to provide? That would depend on what the school is requesting from you. Many schools request for up to around $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. So convert that to Naira and then you will see how much is good enough. Mr. Adeniji Adeta, you're asking, is it all schools that require West evaluation in the US? No, not all schools, okay? So if they don't list it on their website as part of requirement, then you don't need West evaluation. You only need to submit your transcript. And West evaluation validity, is there a validity period? No. All you just have to do is ask West. There's a package you choose when you're applying, when you are submitting your transcript to West. You choose a package that allows them to retain your transcript. Okay, so once West is retaining your transcript, it's a bit more expensive than the normal package. So once you ask them to retain your transcript, you don't need to go through the process of sending your transcript to them again. You just ask West to send it to a school that you want them to send it to. I think that's around $10 or $15 for them to send it. So Prince, you're asking how long does the service fee last before it's expired? Before it's expired, I can't remember. I'm not sure of the expiry date. I can't remember. But I think it should still be valid. You can check if it's still valid online. That I know. Go to the service website.
It's a year. It's a year. After a year, yes, it's a year. After a year, you have to pay again before you can go to the embassy.
Oh.
Yes.
But check it. I was reading some things there. Check. I would still advise for you to check their website. I was reading some things there last week, if I remember. So, but if it's a year, then you have to pay another one. Because I'm responding this way because if you are still going to the same school, okay, but check it. They have so many clauses which I was going through last week, and that was when I even got to know about some things, some peculiarities. Something peculiar to West, which is not this question anyway. So Prince, I will still ask you to check it, but have it in mind maybe a year, but still check the website. So Uche, you're asking now, can spouse convert F2 to F1 visa? So to convert F2 to F1, I made a video on that. I should even make another video on that, but I've not had the time. But the basic thing is you can convert F2 to F1 either by doing it out the following, either staying in the US and applying for change of status, That's taking much longer now because of, they said, because of COVID. Some people are waiting 8 months, 10 months, 1 year, 18 months before they can get it converted. Another option is travel to a neighboring country. If you're in the US already, traveling to either Canada or Mexico to go and apply for an interview, F1 interview there. I know a number of people who did that, who have done that. Another thing is going back to Nigeria to stand in for an interview. I know at least 2 people who have done that too. Okay, to change F2 to F1. But and also know someone who stayed in the US, converted her F2 to F1. It took around 18 months for her. Then I know another person who tried to do it, and it took less than 6 months for her to get it. And I'm still asking myself, what's the difference? Because they said COVID is affecting everything, and you have to wait like 8 months. But this person still spent less than 6 months, and another person spent like 18 months. So that will depend. So Oluwaseun, you're asking, are dependents allowed to work in the US? No. That is the answer to that. Dependents are not allowed to work in the US. In UK, dependents are allowed to work. In Canada, dependents are allowed to work. But in US, dependents cannot work. Deola, you're asking, who can be one sponsor aside from one parent, sibling, or spouse, uncles or auntie when processing? Can organization in your country sponsor you? So organizations, it will depend on what the organization is. If they are offering scholarship, for example, or offering some of these things. Some organizations offer scholarship, and then the scholarship letter must be available and the like. Yes, that's possible. But if you see organization like maybe someone's business, some
gone again. Okay, we just have like 10 minutes to go actually. So
before they can get it, it's very, very if you're saying and they are saying they are funny, you want to prove to the VO, like, why are they sponsoring you? Okay, if it's a study visa from your organization and they are funding you, that's also that may be possible. You still want to prove to the VO that they are actually sponsoring you to study. Okay, to study. So you want to prove that. All right. Okay, so someone is we're asking you, do one get to pay graduate school fee instrumentally or at a go? It's usually instrumentally. That's what people do. That's the way you pay at a go. You can decide to pay it straight away. So, Kuku, David, you're asking, will being single affect home type? Or no. A lot of single folks have applied for visa interview and they have gotten it. All right, Prince, you're asking, do you advise to reply for the same school for chances of getting visa approval? I don't know what you mean, apply to the same school. I don't know. If you have gotten funding, if you are getting fund, I think what's important is getting funding from the school. Okay, that's what's important. Getting funding from the school. If you don't have funds to take care of yourself, I believe that's what is important. So I think you are still asking what's the package for West evaluation. I think you will see it on the website. I can't remember which one. I think it's the one they call ICAS or something. You will see it on their website. Just go to the West website, west.org. I think that's their website or something. I can't remember well, but go there. I think you should be able to find that. Okay, so Kevin, my opinion about student loan, you receive funding up to 70%. Okay, so my opinion of student loan actually, I'm still gathering information about this one-sided type of loan. I'm still gathering information because what I believe is a loan that will be able to pay directly to the school and that will be able to reflect in your I20 that you have funding. Okay, from the loan, so that you don't have to get a loan and you have to start looking for proof of fund again, and you have that letter and everything, so that the VO will know that this loan is going directly to the school and they know that the payment is sure. So that's what I think. If you are getting a loan at all, it should be that type of loan. And then if you are saying loan from friends and families, yes, it depends on the arrangement you have with them. For friends and family, depends on the arrangement you have with them. They pay to your account and all those things. That will depend on the arrangement you have with them. And the beautiful thing is that you may even get to US and then you try as much as possible working, doing all those things, and then they even up your funding up to what do you call it, 100%. So that's very, very possible. That's very, very possible. So yes, at the end, the voice evaluation does not really have a validity period like that. It's your transcript, right? It's your transcript. Once it's there, it's there. It's in their system. Okay, just choose the package that will allow them to be able to send it to different schools whenever you need them. All right, let me take this last person and then we will end this space session here for today. It's been 2.5 hours already. So you can unmute yourself, the effect. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thanks for the opportunity. I think it's a great space. What I would want to tell everybody is that the journey is highly possible. You wouldn't be the first person to go on this journey. All of us came from Africa, all of us came from a country, and then it was not easy, but we managed to go through with it. It is highly possible, even though it's not easy. So normally, ideally, people would want to get admission, secure a scholarship, go through their visa interview. It doesn't work like that for everyone. Some people have the admission, they don't have the scholarship, or they have a partial scholarship. But it's when they get to campus that they are able to secure a full scholarship. All you need to do with this process is that, at the end of the day, it takes a lot of time, effort, emotions, and sometimes finances to go through. You don't want to hear any negative vibes. If you are very positive about the process, please go ahead and work on it. There might be challenges. If you want to go on this journey, these are some of the spaces you have to join. Talk to positive-minded people, not people who are going to discourage you. If you talk to somebody who have probably been denied a couple of times, those people are better. They are going to sort of demoralize you. So be positive about the entire process. It is highly possible. Ask people who have been through the process, and it's great that, bro, you're making yourself available so that people get answers to some of these questions. It is highly possible. People have done it. There's a lot of negative vibes. There's a lot of ways. If you want to complain, you can complain there's too much code in Canada or too much code in the US. You can complain the process is hectic, it is expensive. At the end of the day, if it's not worth it, some of us wouldn't spend the time and energy to encourage you to also go through. So I appreciate the time and thank you for giving me the mic.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So before we end, let me just quickly answer some questions which I've seen here again. I know I've touched on it. Abdurrahim, you are saying, when it comes to visa interview date, what if one does not get a date for a school that is to resume in 2023? So that's what I've been talking about, that you should start the process of the interview, the visa application, as soon as you get that your I20. Start as soon as possible. Start filling the DS-160 form, because the interview dates many people are getting now is 2024. So once you try, I advise people, choose the available date, the closest date you can find, and keep on monitoring regularly. Keep on monitoring regularly to be able to pick a date. And then when it is around 3 months to your start date, you can make an emergency request. I think it's 3 months, if I remember well, or 1 month. Either of the two. Check the US website to be able to confirm. You can write for an emergency request and then tell them that your date is your resumption date is so date, and this is the date you are saying, and it's not possible to wait for that. And then send them your I20. You send them your proof of service payment. I think there's another thing you have to send, proof that you've paid for the visa. So you send them those things, and then they should be able to grant you. Of course, I've mentioned that some people were not granted. And then it's a very sorry case that you have funding, you have everything, and you cannot get a date to do an interview. Many people were not granted. Some people were not granted, but I know a lot of people were granted too. Okay, so that's very, very, very possible. That's very, very possible. All right. So someone is saying you have to pay for I20. You don't pay for I20, Amarachi. You don't pay for I20. In the past, what you pay for is courier service to bring the I20 to your country, to Nigeria, to Ghana, to Uganda, to India, wherever you are. That's what you pay for in the past. But now they are sending it via email. So people get it electronically now. So you don't actually pay for that. Okay, so I think what you have mentioned, how to get interview date, I've mentioned some of those things. You were denied last year, Bansky. You can apply again if you think you have the right documents this time around, or you have the right profile now. You are looking for a flight from Nigeria to US. Use Google. You will find the flight fee for different airlines. Okay. All right. Okay. Let me answer this last question from Jumoke. You said you finished for service last year, still job hunting. You also applied for a master's program for 2023. Your question is, if you gain admission and viewer asks you a question like, "What are you doing?" You just explain to the VO that you just finished your service year, which is a compulsory blah 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 in Nigeria, and then that's what you've been doing and the likes. I'm sorry, I won't be able to take any more requests. The time is fast spent. Toyosi, I will quickly give you 1 minute. 1 minute. Baddest Nigeria, I'm very sorry, I won't be able to take your request. The time is fast spent. We've spent 1 hour 51 minutes here. And then I have a lot of things to get back to too. So Toyosi, quickly, 1 minute. 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Ajayi. Yeah, I just want to tell everybody that it's daunting. The situation, it's not easy. The process is hard. I myself, I think I've said it before, Mr. Ajayi should know, I was denied 3 times before I got my visa the fourth time. I was denied May 2021, I was denied June the following month, and I was denied December 2021 before I got my visa May 2022. So, like that person said, if people are saying negative things beside you that, hey, you get denied, they will keep denying you if you've been denied for, it's a lie. You have to just go back to the drawing board. Look at your weaknesses, where you know your visa application is, maybe it's funding, get funding. So it's a daunting process, but it's worth it. It's worth it. So I just want to tell everybody that just keep pushing. You will get what you are looking for. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for everyone who joined in. It's been a beautiful one. Of course, we'll keep on talking about some of these things. I will talk about visa interview propers sometimes very soon. The questions and all those things that are expected. But this is just to give an overview of what the process looks like from that admission stage to where you land in the US. Of course, once you get your visa, all you just need to do is to book your flight and travel. Maybe we have another space session to talk about the experiences at the point of entry. It's not really a big deal, but some people have issues even at the point of entry, but it's not a big deal really.
All right, guys. So that's the space session which we had last week, and that was on Sunday, right? And it was a very, very beautiful one, very impactful. Of course, you can would skip some parts. You can see that we've only spent like 1 hour 40 minutes here today, and the space session is around almost 2 hours, around 2 hours. So I skipped some parts. If you want to listen to the whole thing, you can check it out on Twitter. It's recorded on Twitter. You can check it out and listen to those points which you want to listen to. But of course, basically everything is what I have captured here. So if you have any question, you can always drop it here in the chat box. Sometimes later when I'm going through my phone, I definitely will see it. So the thing is this, don't be afraid. Okay, once you get your admission, you can start the process yourself, get your i20, get to pay your service fee, blah blah, just as I have explained in this session. Okay. Ernest, you're saying you can't hear? I've stopped playing. I've stopped playing the space session. Okay, so this is just me speaking. All right. So thank you guys for joining in today. God bless you real good, and make sure you have a nice night, nice evening, nice afternoon, depending on where you are. Mercy, I can see your comment. You enjoyed the session. Yeah, a lot of people had that same opinion. So even myself listening to it again, I felt like, wow, this is really powerful, and that's why I had to come and play it on YouTube. That my people are on YouTube who were not able to attend the space session on Twitter, I should not leave them out of this juicy session. So if you are just joining in, I just finished playing that session that we had on Twitter. Go back to this video, listen to it again and again, digest it, follow through the process, and you see that victory is certain. And one thing Toyosi said, and the last part is that it's possible to get denied multiple times. It's possible. Okay, don't give up. He got denied 3 times. He got his visa on the fourth attempt. I know someone who just gave us a news. I've prepared her with her for interview before F2 visa, and she just gave us the news. Was it yesterday that she got her visa? She was denied like 6 times, 6 good times. I think she got it on the 7th time. she got it on the 6th or 7th time. She should land in the US today, I believe. She should land in the US today and come. She of course she watches our YouTube video. We connected via YouTube, so she probably may be watching this or will watch this later. So I say congratulations to you. I say congratulations to you. So she got it on the 6th or 7th time, and that's amazing. Just don't give up, okay? Many things you'll be like, let's just give up and stop all these things. But she didn't give up. She got her F2. So congratulations to you. All right, to everyone, I say congratulations to you in advance too. It's coming very soon. God bless you. Really good. Have a nice time.